So Steph Curry made it possible for the everyday man, a guy who's 6'3", a guy who's 6 feet, to play, be successful, believe in themselves that if they just shoot enough threes, they can win. That's what he's been able to do. So, what do you guys think? I see some more Lakers comments. Lakers, I think, will be out in 6 games. To me, they don't have an elite big man to play defense in the middle there, and they're getting exposed by the T-Wolves. Couldn't agree more. Has Luka lost some weight yet, at least for the playoffs? No, I think he's still a lard ass. I think he's still pretty fat. From what I can tell, Luka looks just like this still. Okay? That's a Lakers uniform. I didn't see too much weight loss. But, also what I love about Steph Curry is I don't see him putting his kids in the league. I know he's mainly got daughters, but I mean, at least they're not, who knows? Maybe they'll grow up and play with him too. Because we do have, because think about who we do have on the Lakers. We've got Bronny there. He's just taking up a roster spot, a qualified from a qualified player, right? Combined, what are they? What were they? A minus 70? Look at them. Father-son duo. This is what LeBron James is responsible for. Steph Curry changed the game. He made everybody a shooter. He even made LeBron James change his game. So the fact that LeBron James had to change his entire game to be more like Steph Curry, I'm going to go with Steph Curry being the greatest in the LeBron James era. It should be the Steph Curry era. He should be considered the greatest in this era, in the modern day basketball. He completely changed the game. He inspired hundreds of players currently in the NBA to shoot high. He inspired every team, 28 teams, to shoot volume 3-point shots. He's the greatest in the LeBron James era, period. The crazy thing about this is that if Shannon Sharpe were to get a hold of this topic, he would be emphatically probably crying over LeBron James and how there's no way that Steph Curry could be considered the GOAT of this era. There's no way we could put Steph Curry over LeBron James after he came back being down 3-1, that he never should have been down 3-1. But again, we celebrate losing and coming back from losing, right? But yeah, Shannon Sharpe, he would be vehemently against this. He would be seriously debating this and screaming at the top of his lungs. And, it brings me to my next topic, Shannon Sharpe, who, pretty much he is at this point, he's cooked, he's done for, he's pretty much a disgrace television, YouTube content personality. And it is sad because we've had a lot of really great content from Shannon Sharpe. He's being accused of some pretty egregious things. And I hate that we have to come in here and sort of dissect this, because really, I don't really care too much about the allegations. For me, it's not the allegations. It was the camaraderie that he had with Stephen A. Smith, and all of these allegations that have come out. We've seen Shannon Sharpe essentially defend himself. We've seen him come out and really just deny these allegations. A woman is accusing him of rape, repeat rape they're accusing him of. And it's just awful. And I'm going to play for you Shannon Sharpe and his statement. He came out, he had a video response and reply. Stephen A. Smith actually, he has responded to Shannon Sharpe and these allegations, and I'm shocked by his replies and his responses. We're going to unpack that. This is more about Stephen A. Smith and less about Shannon Sharpe. So these allegations, they don't really mean much to me. All of these things, they come out every other month about somebody else. So now it's Shannon Sharpe's turn, and it seems that he's pretty much done for. He will not be returning back to TV. So let me go ahead and play his response to these allegations, and then we'll go from there.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys.
Shannon Sharpe calls himself transparent. If he was so transparent, then why didn't we know that someone was shaking him down for quite some time? That's not very transparent. We're not finding out about it until it's coming out, right? Until literally, I think 24 hours after he signed a huge contract, that $100 million deal for Nightcap, right? So I don't know. I don't know if these allegations are true. Like I said, I really don't care. But this is, again, more about Stephen A. Smith. This is about how Stephen A. Smith has now responded to these allegations. And again, Stephen A., he went out and got Shannon from Skip, right? So Skip embarrassed Shannon Sharpe on Fox when they were doing the Undisputed show together. He completely sort of denigrated him on that show, disrespected him. And Shannon Sharpe left FS1, and we're told that he was fired from the network, and Stephen A. Smith didn't want him to be blackballed. So he picked him up for First Take, and he continued to elevate his own show, essentially, right? Through ESPN and with Shannon Sharpe. And so Stephen A. Smith has had quite a bit to say about this subject, and he does have his own podcast on YouTube, his own YouTube channel that he owns in full. And apparently ESPN has allowed him to speak out on this, and it seems as though they want him to speak out on it. It seems as though they want Stephen A. to be their mouthpiece and to come out and say, hey, we do not support this. We're not going to support it. And Stephen A. is basically like patting himself on the back while throwing Shannon Sharpe under the bus. And I can't believe this. I'll be honest. I can believe it because Stephen A. does things like this, whether it be to Kyrie Irving, Allen Iverson, and others. He'll just throw them under the bus, right? He'll set them up for all kinds of things. But this feels a little bit more calculated. It feels like some self-preservation, like, hey, Stephen A. is like, hey, I recruited this person, and Disney is like, hey, you better fix this. You better get out there and make a statement because you brought him here. So everybody's going to think that you're aligned with him. So he's had to respond, and I'm going to play Stephen A.'s response. He has 2 different sound bites that I'm going to play for you guys, and we're going to unpack them because really and truly, I think it's disgusting that he would speak on this in this fashion, in this way for so long. And it just feels very backhanded to me. It feels like backhanded support. Like he's not really supporting Shannon Sharpe, and he's just really trying to save his own ass and save the ass of Disney and save face and let everybody know, hey, I have nothing to do with this. Here's what I think about some of this. He's trying to build equity with all of us. And I'm just going to let you guys hear it for yourselves.
Was not there. I can provide no eyewitness account. And even though I got love and respect for Shannon Sharpe, and I'm sincerely hopeful and prayerful that he is completely innocent of the allegations that have been levied against him, I can't sit here and speak to his innocence or guilt from a knowledgeable place because I have nothing to do with this. I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything. I don't even know this person. I know what the reports say. I know the reports, the things that have been reported on a multitude of outlets, from the AP to the New York Post to Forbes to TMZ and everything in between. I mean, I can't even count the number of publications that have talked about it or written about it, networks, etc. It's all over the internet. It's everywhere. And I know that. I'm fully aware of that. This is not a criminal case. So there is no concern about him going to jail. This is a civil case, which means that he can either be found liable or not liable. The accuser in question is seeking $50 million. That was confirmed by Shannon Sharpe on that video today. According to the reports, it's somebody that he met in 2023, who was 19 years old at that particular moment in time. According to some audio that was put out earlier today by Attorney Busby, you hear the accuser, the female, talking to somebody who is alleged to be Shannon Sharpe. We don't know whether that's true or not. And the person in question, again, we don't know whether it's Shannon or not, other the words choke, as in I will choke the hell out of you if I saw you. And so because of that, knowing that audio was probably going to come out along with additional tapes, whether they be video or audio is unclear at this particular moment in time, Shannon Sharpe felt compelled to come out in his own defense. How we interpret that? Let me be very, very clear about where I'm coming from. I'm a bit torn in terms of his response. On one hand, Tony Busby has sued Jay-Z. He did sue Diddy. He did accuse them, or represented the woman who was accusing them of assault, of sexual assault, and said that she was 13 years of age at the time when talking about Jay-Z and Diddy, and Jay-Z went ballistic and emphatically denied it, wouldn't let it go. The case was dropped, and now he's suing Busby, mentioning words like extortion and other things. So when Shannon Sharpe brought up Mr. Busby in that video that we aired and talked about him being extorted, he brought up Mr. Busby and Mr. Busby's past. And he talked about him, going against African-American men. There's two thoughts there. On one hand, there's the Jay-Z, who obviously should be presumed innocent, not just because you should be presumed innocent until found guilty, but because of the manner in which he fought on his own behalf and has been very aggressive in going after Tony Busby. In the case of P. Diddy, you don't know what to believe. Again, the case against Jay-Z was a civil suit. Diddy was a civil suit. But in Diddy, you don't know what to believe because of all the allegations he's facing. But we can't forget that Tony Busby was also the person that represented at least 24 of the 27 women that accused Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct, along with other allegations. And at least 23 of those cases were settled. So we have an obligation to mention that. So on one hand, going on the offensive to defend himself, I completely understand where Shannon Sharpe is coming from. On the other hand, when his legal team issued out the press release on X yesterday, and they spoke about, they mentioned her name, and they revealed some of those explicit text messages, that was uncomfortable. And I don't know if that's a strategy that would work. One of the hardest things in the world for all of us to do is to just lay low and be quiet and let our legal team do it. And we don't always know whether or not that's the right thing to do. I know, and I can tell you all that I spoke to Shannon, not in details, but I spoke to him, and he emphatically proclaims his innocence. According to Mr. Busby, his client emphatically proclaims his guilt. So where does that leave us? I'd love to tell you that I know the answer to that question, but I don't. I am the executive producer of First Take on ESPN. I recruited Shannon. I went and got him and brought him to ESPN. But I'm not the boss. Those are other folks. There are layers to this, and there are certain layers even I am not on. I can tell you, I also spoke to co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously, and we are looking into this very, very closely. And once we gather as many facts as we possibly can. We will go from there. And that is all he said. And I can mention his name because I received his permission to say that. I don't know what that means. In my perfect world, this equates to Jay-Z, where the case ultimately dropped and Shannon is allowed to continue on First Take and continue to thrive and shine. And not just that, and have an illustrious career in the podcast stratosphere, doing Nightcap with Chad Ochocinco, doing Club Shay Shay, and ultimately gets this $100 million deal that he was all over the news about to sign just a couple of days before this report came out. In my perfect world, he moves on. And somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth. I don't know where this is going to go. I can't speak to anything else. I don't know who Shannon Sharpe's legal team is and what they're suggesting. I imagine that everything that has transpired has been at the behest of his lawyers, not just himself. I can tell you again that when I spoke to him, he is emphatic in stating his innocence, that this is a shakedown, to use his words. How wise is it to use those kind of words when a civil matter of this nature is out there? When you have a podcast and you have advertisers and sponsors and you work for ESPN and they have advertising sponsors, I don't know. What can we say if any of us were in that position and we felt or were proclaiming we were innocent? I don't know. And I'm not about to pretend. I just wanted to make sure that I echo to all of you that the only reason I spoke on this issue is because he works with me 2 days a week. He's on national television. He was on national television with me today. He was on national television with me yesterday when the story came out Sunday night. I didn't know anything about it until we got on the air. But he was on air. And if you know him in part because of all the work that he's doing with me and what he's doing in this industry, I know everybody's been waiting. Like, Stephen A., what you got to say about this? I got to say what I just told you. I don't know what's happened. I know I got love for the brother. I know that I'm wishing that he's innocent and all of this stuff goes away and he can continue to thrive with me on ESPN and thrive in his own platforms that he worked so diligently over the years to build. But anything else would be entirely irresponsible for me to speak on. And I can't do that. Yes, I own this. This is my platform.
Stephen, I can't. I mean, Stephen Ass Smith strikes again. Just let this play out. I don't understand. Like, I can understand Stephen A. Smith making a statement. Hey, I have no knowledge of this. I am just wishing Shannon Sharpe the best through this situation. I know that it's hard. I cannot confirm or deny these allegations. Like, say something professional and move on, right? I just don't understand why he had to take to his podcast twice, because this is not the only time he spoke on it. He speaks on it again. Okay. And to me, he's insulting Shannon Sharpe. He's saying, like, basically, how could you be so stupid? Like, I get it. You're denying these allegations, but your lawyer is going to come out and, make statements for you that sound ridiculous. I don't know how smart that was. He's saying his opinion about this situation. He's saying he's only going to speak on it because he works with him 2 days a week. I mean, I just don't know why he had to speak this far and speak so much on the topic. There's no way that they can be friends ever again. Absolutely no way that they can be friends. Zero. He tells us all that he was fired, that they mutually agreed. So basically, he's saying it really wasn't Shannon Sharpe's decision to step down. This was a mutual decision between him and Disney. So Disney's asking him to do this. He literally, Stephen A. Smith says this in the next soundbite. So I'm going to play this for you now.
I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that it's ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. As I sit here before you today discussing this matter, ESPN and Disney have a wait and see attitude when it comes to whatever evidence they may learn about this entire situation involving Shannon Sharpe from a legal and from a civil perspective. What they didn't need, as it pertains to those two things that I just mentioned, they didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff. Once all the things Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there, it was uncomfortable to listen to. And it was not something that Walt Disney wants associated with its brand. So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to take. That is what I mean when I say I'm not surprised. In getting to know Shannon Sharpe, I know a lot of things that he has articulated that he has been through in his life. I can't imagine too many things in life tougher than what he's going through now. And there's a lot of people out there talking a lot of smack, a lot of stuff about him. You will never hear that from me. It will not happen. I don't give a damn if we speak a day from now, a month from now, a year from now, years from now. He's my friend. And it's always going to be that way. I'd say the same thing to you about anybody else that I know to be my friend. I don't have to work with you. I don't have to be around you. I don't have to be around you all the time, talking to you all the time, to have love for you and to wish you the best. And that's exactly what it's going to be for him. I sincerely hope that all of this goes away and we find there's a bunch of falsehoods to these allegations and he's able to come back in this industry and do what he has been doing, which has been phenomenal. I hope Club Shay Shay and Nightcap and all of these other things that he's associated with, that he continues to thrive in his life and move forward. And whatever mistakes he may have made along the way, I'm not talking from a legal or civil perspective. I'm talking about in his eyes or that of others, whether it be moral or something else. I hope that he corrects whatever he feels he needs to correct and he moves forward. But in the process of doing all of that, I hope we're all reminded of a few things. And this extends far beyond a Shannon Sharpe or anybody else. One of the things that we need to remind ourselves of is that in this day and age, very few things are private. In this day and age, there's very few things that won't come to light, because most things do. But thinking beyond Shannon, thinking beyond myself, just thinking about the world that we live in terms of the podcast stratosphere and everything like that. A lot of people want to walk around thinking you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. You could your own operation. You don't have to answer to anybody. That's not true. I've had people open their mouth and they've said, Stephen A., you work for ESPN. What kind of control do you really have? This is my podcast. This is my YouTube show. I own this. But if you think for 1 second that I could just do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and there's not going to be any repercussions, you're clueless. And you're destined to fail and fall on your face. I'm not talking about Shannon Sharpe. I'm not talking about Shannon Sharpe. I'm not talking about anybody in particular. I'm talking about a climate that we're living in. Some people sit up there and they look at me and they say, Stephen A. don't get himself in this kind of trouble. How does he pull it off? Well, first of all, there's certain behaviors and proclivities that you never have to worry about me engaging in. But most importantly than that, I often say this about Walt Disney. I'd rather work for a place with standards than one looking for them. You know why? Because lines are drawn. And I never have to worry about crossing them, because guess what? I've got something there reminding me, hold on. You don't need to do that. It's not a silo. I'm not by myself. I don't get to operate in any way that I want without having to worry about ramifications or repercussions. I always have to be concerned about that. So I'm challenged every day to come on the airwaves and think about the ramifications and repercussions of anything that I do constantly. And because of that, that's an additional guardrail to secure me from putting myself in a position that could jeopardize myself, my show, my brand, my family, the company that I work for, anything like that. Again, I'm not talking about Shannon right now. I'm talking about what people say when it comes to people like myself and others who unapologetically explain that we have people to answer to. And all you folks out there with your own podcast, running your own operations, if you have advertisers and sponsors, get what? You answer to somebody too. And I'm here to tell you, don't be upset about it. Feel good about it. Because you need to view it as an extra line of security that enables you, it being a guardrail, it enables you to watch lines that you want to make sure that you don't cross. Because when those lines are always there, you usually know it. And you usually make sure you don't cross it. Because the bigger picture is always staring in front of your face. I've seen a lot of stuff happen over the last few months. I've seen a lot of stuff happen over the last few years. And in almost every case, guardrails were pretty much absent. I'm glad I have guardrails. The people that work for me, the people that work with me, the people I work for, the public at large. I found a way to be me while in the same breath guarding myself against some of the things I need to be guarded against. Just a thought. Just a thought. Back to Shannon. I'll always be here for him if he needs me. Just the same way I said that about Skip Bayless when he departed from Fox. Just the same way that I would say about any of my friends. That's what friends do. Even in the toughest of times. Sometimes, especially the toughest of times. They ain't telling you you're right all the time. And hell, sometimes they may not stop you from falling into that abyss, but they're there to lift you up when nobody else will. That's all I have to say. Other than I hope he's back in this business real soon on linear television, talking some football, because that man knows his football. And he certainly knows how to entertain us while he's talking about football. I'm going to miss him. I hope he's back soon.
Stephen S. Smith is a liar. Okay. I don't know if you guys hear, he all but stomped out Shannon Sharpe with both of these appearances on his own podcast. 2 separate instances. He is literally going in on Shannon Sharpe. I can tell Stephen A. Smith is angry. It's almost as if, okay, I brought you here and you embarrassed me. You didn't tell me about these, all of these. He called them proclivities. You never have to worry about me having any proclivities like this. And I mean, it's confirmed. Shannon Sharpe did, in fact, have a relationship with a 19-year-old. Whether it was consensual, non-consensual, but these things are the facts. The facts are is that he was with this young woman. A man in his 50s. The optics of that does not look right. So Stephen A. Smith is saying, hey, I'm completely disgusted by what we know is true. So what we know to be true, I'm not in alignment with that. Neither is Disney. We want completely away from these allegations. You don't have to worry about me being caught up in any of that. I want you to know this is not me. I'm not with 19-year-olds. I'm not with anybody that can't drink. I'm not engaged in BDSM. I don't have text message threads with women talking like this, saying I'm going to choke them, etc. I mean, he was reading and repeating the text messages and audio. That's what Stephen A. was participating in. So he's trying to build equity with viewers, and he's trying to ensure that everybody knows that he wants nothing to do with this. They are not friends. They probably never were friends. Stephen A. Smith is angry that Shannon Sharpe put him in a position to be called to task, to be asked anything about this. He does not want to be associated with a scandal this way. he might be running for president. So Stephen A. Smith is pissed. He's pissed at Shannon for letting this come out. He's pissed at Shannon for not making the network or even him aware or giving him a heads up that he was going through these issues. He's upset with Shannon Sharpe, and he's letting everybody know, hey, I would never do anything this stupid. I have guardrails. I have a brain. I'm going to read a couple of your comments, and then, guys, we're going to end the live. I have to get back to basketball. I've got to watch the rest of the games tonight. I've already missed the Cavaliers blowing the Miami Heat off the floor. I was watching the first quarter, and literally, I think it was a blowout from the first quarter that I believe they were up 25 on them. So that was pretty much a joke of a series. Cavaliers should be able to, breeze through the first and the second round to get to the Eastern Conference Finals, unless Cavaliers are a second round knockout, just like Donovan Mitchell has been pretty much for all of his career. So we'll see. Can the Cavaliers get out of the second round and get to that Eastern Conference Finals? But yeah, I do want to know what you guys think about the Shannon Sharpe situation. I really do. Oh, it looks like we did have some super chats come through. I'm sorry about that if I missed them. Okay. From Mark, salute to you for the $5 super chat. If the Lakers come back, we'll never hear the end of it. If the Timberwolves win, the media will say LeBron pushed Ant to the next level. Yeah, I can see that totally. I agree. Yeah, but we are never going to hear the end of it if the Lakers come back. And yeah, it will be that like this is Ant's coming out story already, even though he's already arrived, even though he's already made the Western Conference Finals, having nothing to do with LeBron. He's just been knocking old guys out since last season when he swept Kevin Durant. So maybe he can pull off a gentleman's sweep for the Lakers. But Brand117, thank you for the $2 super chat. I see why LeBron never went to the Knicks or the Nets. So do I. He wouldn't be able to handle that scrutiny, that level of New York pressure. He would fold. He would have never won a title there, likely as well. Brand, salute to you for the $5 super chat. I have to disagree with Steph's inability to play back then. In the Rockets game, he was able to score even when he wasn't getting calls. Yes, he was, but he had to develop into that. Steph Curry, we saw what happened to him in 2016. You don't get chances like that over a decade to increase your ability to play against physical defense in 80s or 90s basketball. You don't get, 10 seasons to adjust to that. You're out pretty quickly. So he would have been injured in his first season, second season, probably cut from the league. That's how they used to do the players back then. 80s and 90s, if you were considered an injury-prone player, you might not even get a contract. So it's really interesting, and things are definitely trickier between the eras. It's not all the same. The circumstances aren't the same, whether it's because of the style of play, because of just the politics and the way the organizations were being ran and the way the NBA was being commissioned at that time. So we have to take into account all of those factors. It's just not the same. So when we take a look at today's league and we take a look at the yesteryear, we should not be transforming people forward or backward. Keep them in their era and compare those players against the players of that era, because those eras were they've always had perfectly great competition, and there's always someone that's more analogous in their era. So let's keep it to that. But instead, we have to compare, and comparisons are truly the thief of joy. So but back to the Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharpe subject, blockchain easy. Yes, Stephen A. Smith is a piranha like most media. They smell blood in the water and they want to get views out of it. I believe he wants to get views out of it, but more than that, I think it's about self-preservation. Stephen A. Smith is going to trend, and he's going to Stephen A. Smith and First Take constantly. So these things are never going to end. He's always going to be on the news cycle, part of the news cycle, but he should have addressed Shannon Sharpe's situation professionally and moved on. Even if he wanted to touch upon, Disney being in charge and him having nothing to do with the decision, I'm fine with that as well. But to get into the details, to say his opinion about the lawyer, to basically insult Shannon Sharpe and his ability to make good judgment calls in his personal life and his professional life, I just don't think that was necessary. I don't think it was necessary to say how stupid he was for dealing with a 19-year-old woman and getting caught in the public. So I just don't think he needed to give his opinion. I don't think that he needed to make that proclivities comment and compare himself and even put him in the situation to say, oh, I would never do something like this. Okay, Stephen A., you've done other things that have gotten your ass fired from ESPN, like lying. Okay, like you have done things at ESPN, like, maybe saying that a woman should not hit a man. And, remember when that woman got hit in the elevator? No, she shouldn't have hit Ray Rice. No, she shouldn't have. But I don't think I think that's besides the point when she's knocked out laying on the floor. So again, like Stephen A. Smith doesn't always make the best decision. So for him to be, the jury and the executioner here, I don't like it. And I think that Shannon Sharpe and these allegations are absolutely disgusting. He's cooked, he's gone. So just let it be that. Let him be cooked, let him be gone. I don't think you, Stephen A., needed to come out and say all of these things. I just think it was inappropriate. I think it was in poor taste, and it lacked in professionalism, in my opinion. And for you to just continuously say that you are in alignment with your bosses and the network that pays you, we hear you. We know that. We know that you've always been that way. Stephen A. Smith is considered to be an Uncle Tom by many, a complete sellout by many. So none of this is new, but say a sentence or two and move on. So did Stephen A. turn his back on Shannon? I don't think he ever had Shannon's back to turn. But yes, ultimately, I think that this is a betrayal, and we'll never see Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith working again together. So I want to thank all of you guys for joining the stream. Do me a favor and like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let everybody know, your family and friends, about Sports Tea. But let's get the word out there. Let's get the word out there about Sports Tea, and let's grow this community. Let's blow it up big. But like the video, subscribe, and drop me a line in the comments about your thoughts. Tell me, do you think the Lakers can win in 7? Tell me how you feel about the Knicks in the Pistons series. Do you like the physical defense? Do you think that Pistons deserve to win that game? What do you think? Is Steph Curry or LeBron James, are they the greatest of the modern day era? Who is the greatest? Which one? Which would elevate the GOAT case for either one of them if they win 5 rings? And Shannon Sharpe, like, do you think he's gotten what's coming to him? And has Stephen A. Smith turned his back on him? I think so. But thank you all for joining. Really appreciate you being here for the live. And like I said, like, share, and subscribe. Have a wonderful, wonderful night, and enjoy the rest of these playoff games tonight. I can't wait to come and cook on them in the morning or maybe tomorrow night. But you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.